Well, now we get to verify trig identities by transforming each side. So let's get on a little experience with this. So here we're asked to verify that the cosecant squared of theta minus the cotangent squared of theta is equal to the cotangent squared of theta times the tangent squared of theta. Well, let's see. Here we go. We're going to transform each side and verify that they do in fact equal to each other. They are in fact equal to each other. Now I can look at that cosecant squared of theta, and you see here I use my reciprocal identity to state that the cosecant squared of theta is 1 over the sine squared of theta, reciprocal identity. And then I use the quotient identity on this cotangent squared of theta to be the cosine over the sine. And then we're going to move over to the other side where I used both of the quotient identities of the cotangent and the tangent, where the cotangent squared of theta is equal to the cosine squared of theta over the sine squared of theta, and the tangent squared of theta is equal to the sine squared of theta over the cosine squared of theta, and a little bit of cross multiplication, and that's going to equal just 1. Now, you might notice that we have a common denominator here in these two terms over the left, so I'm just going to combine that into one fraction, or one rational expression, to where now I've got 1 minus the cosine squared of theta over the sine squared of theta is equal to 1. And again, we may recognize that 1 minus the cosine squared of theta is an adaptation of the Pythagorean identity that states that the cosine squared of theta plus the sine squared of theta equals 1. And if we subtract the cosine squared of theta from both sides, I'd have the sine squared of theta equals 1 minus the cosine squared of theta. Well, that's what I've got right there. So now I can say, well, shoot, that's the sine squared of theta over the sine squared of theta, and that's equal to 1. Well, the sine squared of theta over the sine squared of theta is also 1. And so 1 does in fact equal 1. And guess what? We have verified the trig identities by transforming each side, such that the cosine squared of theta minus the cotangent squared of theta is equal to the cotangent squared of theta times the tangent squared of theta. And 1 does in fact equal 1. It's a beautiful day.